Hello and welcome back to Faces of Family Business, the show designed to shine a light on the stories of some family firms from across Northern Ireland. Now, we've all heard of the phrase, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. But what if you took beauty and turned it into your family business? And I'm delighted today to have Shelley Martin, the MD of 4Beauty Group, with us here today. You're so very welcome. Shelley, talk to me about your journey in the family business and the idea of where it all come from. Take us back to that.
Sure. So I am second generation. It was originally my mother, Hilary, who is still in the family business as we speak on a part-time basis. She does the babysitting now. But back 25 years ago, my mum had a beauty salon in Bangor, and she really struggled to get the brands and the products that she wanted for her own salon. So she actually went into distribution and distributed products, everything from nail polishes, waxes, sunbed creams, absolutely everything that a salon needs into other salons. And that's really where the story started. And 20 years ago then she had this vision of developing her own self-tan called He-She. And that's where He-She came from. We couldn't get supply of tan, and at that time sunbeds were becoming a no-no, with much more health conscious. So she decided to develop her own fake tan, as you do.
As you do, of course. And talk to me about the name of He-She. That's obviously an amalgam of your and your mum's name,
is, yeah.
But did you use that with the intention that it can be for everyone, or was it more, how do we get our names onto a product? Talk to me about that.
Yeah, she came up with the name.
Yeah.
It was so Hilary and Shelley, but with the I and the E swap. So that was a unique name, because whenever you're actually deciding on a name and trying to register a name, it's really difficult to come up with something unique.
Yeah.
Now, it's definitely unique, but it was always for him and for her. So we just lent into it at that stage.
Yeah. And how difficult is it as a small business to compete with global brands then as well? How do you ensure that you're punching above your weight? Again, does it go back to the quality? What sets you apart?
Well, I think if you don't have a quality product, you're never going to last in this industry. It's as simple as that. For us, it comes down to being people at the end of the phone, or real people. And it's all about relationships and building relationships and long-term partnerships with your trade customers, and even your customer, always bringing innovation and always doing what's best for the customer, as I've talked about the whole time. So yeah, it's definitely not an easy industry. It is global. It's everywhere. So there's little niches for everybody at the end of the day. And it just depends where your passion lies.
Is the beauty industry something you'd always wanted to go into? Have you always had a passion for it? Or talk to me about your journey and coming into that.
Sure. So I was actually in Australia in my year out after university at that stage, and there was always a family business at home. So from the age of 10, I was doing mail shots or leaflet drops, things like that. So I'd always been in the business. I did a degree in management and information systems, so I was always going to go into something commercial, and then having that experience as a teenager growing up, and then eventually doing sales rep and things like that. I came into the business at that stage, and my mum is very much the detail-oriented person with the HR and banking and all of that lovely commercial stuff, whereas I come in and really develop the products and develop the brands, so that marketing side of things, and then developing new products, doing market research, and it's grew from there.
Yeah, fantastic. And so many stories that I hear of families in business, there's always that early exposure to some aspect of the business that really seems to follow then a next gen coming into it, whether it is spending your summers mail shotting or whatever right through. From that though, did you always have an idea, maybe I could end up here, or was your intention, I want nothing to do with that, I want to go off and do my own thing?
Yeah, it was always going to be something commercial in business. Was the intention always to go straight into the family business? No, probably not. But at that stage, it was exciting to be able to come home, have a job as a graduate, and really dig deep into then developing more products and marketing. And it was a really, really exciting time.
So obviously family business forms such an important part of our economy, they're the backbone of our economy. What do you think are some of the benefits of being a family working in business from your perspective?
I think for me, family businesses, you know, SMEs really have that longer term vision. They have probably a different approach to either a corporate or a public sector where everybody's working to that one vision, everybody's invested in delivering that vision or mission. We can also adapt really easily and quickly, which I think is a huge benefit of being an SME. And you know, for me, it's really about putting your customer at the heart of what you do. And I think family businesses, just that culture really cultivates that. So for me, it's actually about making a difference to the people that we supply products for. I mean, if I wouldn't buy it, I certainly wouldn't expect anybody else to buy it. So putting the customer and their problems at the heart of what we do, I think is a huge benefit.
Yeah, that's a fantastic way to put it. And coming in then as a second generation, what responsibility or even opportunity did you feel in terms of taking on and shaping your role and then taking the business to the next level? Talk to me about that, taking over something that someone else, your mum, has started and being able to steward that, but actually then making your own spin on it, taking your own stamp on it. Talk to me about that.
Well, the funny story is that I took over on the January of 2020.
What a time.
Yeah, that was fun and games. That was a very quick learning curve. But I had always been by mum's side, so you know, you're always constantly learning. And for me, coming up through the business, I did have an opportunity to then go on to UUJ and do a master's in business development and innovation. So it had allowed me to do that alongside my work, which, you know, a lot of other people don't have that opportunity. So that was really good. But yeah, certainly 2020 changed a lot for everybody, and it was a case of, well, we just have to try and get through this. And again, putting our customers at the heart, and we sped up so many things from a technology perspective, from talking to our customers and just saying, look, we're in exactly the same boat here. So is our supplier, so is everybody. So yeah, that's been different. I think I definitely do have a different approach to what mum would have had, but I think that is generational. I think I'm much more of a collaboration with the people around me. Yeah. And yeah, it's been a fun journey.
Sure, it always is. It has its ups and downs, like any good story, and we'll maybe pick that up. But if we can pause on the 2020 for a moment, and I don't want to dwell on it too long, but how difficult was that? And particularly since you took over, and what are the ways you were able to get through it and overcome, like so many businesses did, and actually perhaps coming through it for the better? Talk to me a little bit about that.
So we just went into 2020 with a new strategy. So that literally within 2 months went out through the window. Because we service and deliver our products through retail, through grocery, through beauty salons, that was a really, really tough time for the high street. So it was a pivot to, right, well, how can we help our customers, our trade customers, actually sustain their own sales? And that was, get onto social, let's talk about X, Y, and Z. We made lots and lots of digital assets so that they could then be posting about that and help their customers. We delivered directly to their customers if they were placing orders through them, because we were able to still operate, obviously. So yeah, it was tough. It definitely was tough for people as well. We're predominantly female led, and yeah, we all have children at home. Some people did have other halves that were out working, so they were trying to homeschool. Now, thankfully, were not that age at that time, so I was the one actually going to work, and my husband was at home with the kids. But it was a tremendously difficult time for the people, more so than anything else, and everything kind of shut down literally for three or 4 months, and then it did start to get going. Now we did get lots of subsidies and all the rest of it, but it's still ingrained in everybody's brain, I think, just how tough it was for people.
And hopefully we never have to go back there, of course. What were some of the sources of strength you were able to draw on, if at all, from being a family during that time? Do you think being a family business during crises moments like that actually helps, because you've got that level of trust, or the degree of, you just know how each other work to be able to go pull together, batten down the hatches much more so in those kind of moments? Do you think that's true, or what's your experience of that?
Yeah, no, I think trust is one of the biggest elements of a family business. Again, you're really working towards the same vision, mission, and hopefully everybody, certainly my experience has been that everybody has been on that same page. I guess it was difficult because my mom and dad, we were saying, no, you have got to stay at home, which was really difficult for them, because they're just workers, really hard workers. And I was the one that then was going in and trying to deal with X, Y, and Z, although they're always at the end of the phone. But certainly in times of crisis, it's just, let's knuckle down. We've found a way, and it's one of our core values as a business. We find a way. You know, there's no other choice in a family business. There's nobody else to turn to, or nothing else to hide behind. So you have to find a way to get around issues and problems, and that's just it. And I think if that's ingrained in your own values as well, from a very young age, then you just get stuck in.
Fantastic. And you mentioned then your collaborative nature and your collaborative approach. Then talk to me about growing a team and bringing in non-family members, and your journey of that kind of process, or your approach to that in your business. Yeah,
I mean, I have learned a tremendous amount from different people being within the business, and I really wasn't ready to take over until 2020. So I guess I have a thirst for knowledge and understanding, etc. So learning from people is a huge piece for me. Employing other people, you know, that for me is always on your weaknesses. So listen, I'm no genius. I don't pretend to have it all. You always employ those who can do better in certain areas, and you just have to know your core strengths and your core values and what you want to be doing in life, basically. So I really find surrounding yourself with the right people, and surrounding yourself not just with employees, but teams around you, agencies and support networks, and those mentors that you can lift the phone to at any stage, is a really important piece of that family business, because you have to have those connections around you to actually move forward.
Fantastic. And obviously you don't just do the he/she tanning. What else is involved in your business? What other things form part of what you do?
Sure. So we, as I mentioned, we were a distribution business up really until 2020, and after that we then went back and said, no, let's rechange our strategy. Let's relook at this. We have another brand called Skinnition, which is a cosmeceutical skincare, and that really came again from that salon professional clinic piece of not having that big brand culture. Again, put the customers, we want to service customers, we want them to do it affordably, we want them to do it with less products as opposed to having a 15-step skincare routine. So that we developed that back in 2012. We launched in 2012. It took 3 years to develop. Yeah, that's another story on its own. Let me tell you, it's a different beast, but really, really proud of what we have achieved there, because again, very quickly people can see difference is on their skin. If you can see visible differences, you will continue to use it, and it's all about consistency. Our skin is the biggest organ in our body. It's the one that we have for life, so it's the one that we need to take great care of inside and out. So yeah, no, so we focus both on he/she tan and Skinnition skincare. And actually the great thing about COVID was skincare sales really started to grow online. Tanning, nobody was going out, so it kind of died a death. So we were able to give Skinnition the time of day to actually really invigorate that and grow it, and yeah, we've had great success.
You're making me start to rethink my skincare routine here, and you're talking about it, you're so passionate about it, and it's wonderful. Now, obviously, being a family in business, families don't always get on, and we can't pretend otherwise. How do you navigate conflict or even just differences of opinion in your own family business? How have you learned to navigate that and overcome that in what you're doing?
I think it's being open and honest, and from a personality perspective, I'm very open and honest, probably too open and honest sometimes. Sure. When I get fed back to. But yeah, it's what is the actual issue and what's the core of that issue, because a lot of times you argue about things that's not the issue. So we run the company on EOS, which is Entrepreneurial Operating System. It's a really easy way to run a company, and it allows you to deal with issues every week. So get them out on the table, just identify them, discuss them and solve them so that they go away forever, so that it doesn't keep coming up and up and up. And I always, honesty is the best policy. Yes, not everybody might like those decisions. It's not something that I have really came across huge conflict. It's usually more around the kitchen table of, can we just talk about something else, please? That's all, really.
And it's hard when you're a small or medium-sized business, when so much of the conversation tends to morph to the kitchen table, to have that kind of separation, step back. Some people love it and love having it intermixed, and then some people need that space and need that separation as well. Where do you see your business growing, and where do you see it evolving to in the future? You seem really, really focused on your values and your vision and what you're going to do, and putting the customer at the heart, and I'm imagining that's always going to be the case. Where do you see that going?
I mean, the options are endless. We have quite a bit to do from a technology perspective and integrations, because we deal with so many different channels of the business, so retail, pharmacy, grocery, beauty salons. We have our own D2C websites, Amazon, TikTok will be thrown in there at some stage as well. We really need to understand that customer journey, where people are shopping, and to be the brand of choice. I mean, that's my dream. We want to deliver happy, healthy skin, and being able to do that through tanning and skincare is all encompassing. So for me, at the moment, we're having great sales online, but it's very much of an omni-channel approach, because people shop in different ways. They find you in different ways. It's being where everybody shops at the time that they need to shop, and just making sure that our core values of brands are at the heart of those decisions and what we do. So technology is definitely a big piece. Expansion will be a big piece, and community building. It's one of my values myself, is always giving back and being involved in communities, but that goes alongside our actual own customers and how we involve them in what we do. They can tell us what we need to know that we don't see, and just get right in there.
If we can pick up on that, then obviously family businesses, particularly smaller, medium-sized enterprises, are very much the heartbeat of their community and where they're at and where they're located. But now obviously the brands that you have, they're not just local, they're international. How do you maintain community in terms of where your business is based, but then also harnessing that wider sense of community in terms of your customers? Because in the industry you operate, people can become quite tribal in terms of the types of products that they always go back to, etc., etc. Talk to me about that a little bit more then.
Sure. So like I mentioned, we talk to our customers. So we talk to those that maybe have fell off and haven't ordered in a while, or those that are our best customers and ordering. We're constantly doing surveys. We're constantly looking at our reviews, and you always get little nuggets from that. But you have to do something with that information then. So yes, it's all great to have the information, but what can you do and what can you improve to really help that? Not just talking, but giving back as well. So we'll support local charities, we'll do different fundraising events. You know, the girls all get time within their roles as well to constantly learn and develop.
Yeah.
And as we bring new people into the business, I will always say, I want you leaving here as a better person. So I want you to develop yourself, because it helps everybody with that one focus. So yeah, for me, it's back down to people, really, isn't it?
And just touching on that, you know, the very definition of being a family business is, you mentioned it before, thinking the long term, but really about leaving something in a better place than you found it.
Part of it's a legacy piece.
Legacy piece, and that goes to the people you employ, whether it's for 1 year or 10 years or however long. You want to leave them in a better place than whenever they started. Bringing the word sustainability into it, and the fashion or beauty industry specifically, how sustainable is that as an industry, and how difficult is it to be on a sustainability journey with that, and thinking about your own business with that?
Yeah, it's definitely a huge issue, plastics, and yeah, it's definitely going to become a real focus for everybody. Funny, we just did a survey about 2 weeks ago on, would you prefer this packaging, which is really aesthetically pleasing, or would you prefer the recyclable, and the recyclable one.
Wow. Okay.
Which was really great to see, because so for he, she, 90% of our packaging and components are recyclable. Yeah. Whereas with Skinnition it's at 80%, and I want to really push that through. The issue for small businesses is that there's MOQs, so we can't be buying huge amounts of components, so we just don't have access to some of those more advanced packaging options that are there. So it's really, really difficult at the minute to have environmentally friendly eco packaging and something that actually functions, because it actually, for example, a pump that we had with he, she, it just ended up not pumping the lotion out through the pump. Well, that's no good to anybody. It doesn't matter if it's fully recyclable. It still has to be functional. It still has to look okay, because we want to take pride in the products that we're using. So it's definitely a challenge. It will become more challenging, but certainly by the end of next year, I would like to be 95% fully recyclable. And again, even down to the cartons being FSC grade, and there's lots of little changes that we can make. Even just this year, we've changed our warehouse, no bubble wrap, no plastics, you know, and brought in a machine that actually regenerates your outer packaging boxes. So boxes that would usually typically be thrown in the bin because you can't use them again, we're putting it through a machine to make shreddings, etc. So there's lots of little things.
Lots of little things you're able to do to put up to bigger picture as such.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Now, this series is called The Faces of Family Business, and it all comes from an exhibition we did around family businesses exhibiting what they thought best represents visually being a family business is. If you were to paint a picture or take a photo from your archives, or represent yourself visually as a family business, what picture would you paint, or what photo would you choose?
So I was thinking about this, and every Monday morning we do a get together. So it's almost like it's a big long table upstairs, and we all gather around it. We bring a cup of coffee, some people bring their breakfast, whatever that is, and we all just get together. So we share our key wins, we share any challenges from the previous week, and we play a game. And that's really just to get to know each other and really understand each other. So there has been some extremely funny games over the last little while. And for me, it's about teamwork and keeping it commercial at one side, but actually having those relationships and building those relationships and having that trust, and trust and respect is the key to everything, really, to get success. So what we try to do is build on that and grow and develop ourselves, that we are a high performing team. So
So a picture that captures that would be what you would choose.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic. Now, again, we've mentioned the idea of legacy and leaving something better than you found it. You're obviously a second generation company now, and your third generation is some way off, but have you even had any thought of what do I want to leave for my next generation what I want to set up so that they could come in if they wanted to, or that very far in the future piece? Have you had any thoughts around that at this stage?
Yeah, I'm actually reading a book at the moment about working with your highest values, and one of my highest values is developing my children and instilling probably some of the values that I have learned growing up, and whether they come into the family business or not will be completely up to them. I would never force anybody. In fact, I would probably say go and get yourself some experience before you do come in, so that you don't feel trapped somewhere down the line. But again, that is very rewarding. We already bring them into some of the filming and stuff that we do on April Fool's Day or Women's Day, and we bring the kids in and we do some filming with them. So they're part of the journey as it is now, but fantastic. I just hope that you just want your kids to be happy with whatever they do, basically, at the end of it.
Fantastic. But even whether or not they come into your business as such, hopefully then they've got that entrepreneurial spark even to go on and start their own business in the future.
That's it. Hard work and determination, grit, resilience. Ryan will say to me, "But Mummy, why are you going back down to film some Facebook ads?" And I'm like, "Because I have to take you on holiday."
But it's that hard work and the ethics and the values that you talked about, being able to hand those over, and that's legacy in itself, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, not to get political here, but we have a functioning government again, which is fantastic. We were recently announced programme for government. And given how important family firms are in the private sector economy, if you'd one thing that you could have an ask to make it just a little bit easier to do business, or for families to do business, I'm sure you have a million asks, but if you could ask for one thing, what one thing could policymakers do just to make it that little bit easier?
Stay in government and work.
That would be one, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I guess sometimes smaller businesses or family business probably feel a little bit hard done by when it comes to opportunities for training and funding for that. Take AI, for example, at the minute. I know that we need to embrace this and do it, but it's difficult to find, and it probably is there, but it takes time to go and find these things. But really developing people as well that we're not kind of forgot about in smaller businesses that other bigger businesses would have opportunities for.
Okay. And if you were to give one piece of advice to any family businesses, whether it's an aspiring generation who wants to work in their family business, or a seasoned professional who's had many businesses, whatever, what one piece of advice would you give to someone watching this who are from a family business ecosystem?
You have to enjoy what you do every day, because otherwise that becomes a chore. So if it's that young person coming into the family business, spread your wings, learn, then come back in to the family business, or, those who want their children to join, that might not necessarily be the right journey for them. So, don't force it upon them. I think choice is a wonderful thing, and you can guide and all of that. But yeah, I think it has to be something that you want to get up and do every day, or it becomes very difficult and challenging.
I can imagine. So have that passion and hold on to that tightly. Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Shelley, that's wonderful. Really, really appreciate that. And thank you for tuning in to this episode of Faces of Family Business.